Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here. Well, I'm sure by now you have already heard the news because it's been plastered all over the mainstream media that Derek Chauvin has been guilty on all three counts. This is a major victory for the Democrats, for the left, for Black Lives Matter, and you think that they would be celebrating in the streets over this. However, it was never truly about the conviction and that conviction alone. Oh no, there's so much more to the BLM radical and Antifa Marxist agenda that is now playing out in the United States of America. You see, it wasn't about the conviction. It's about what happened immediately after the conviction that tells the entire story. And that's what I am going to focus my report today on. But before I do, just a quick break. So here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that the word collagen comes from the Greek word glue? That's because it acts like glue between our cells and our body's organs. It's the main structural protein that forms the productive tissue throughout the entire body, from skin to bones, muscles, tendons, and ligaments. There's only one problem though. Our bodies don't produce unlimited collagen. In fact, our bodies produce 10% less collagen every decade. Those who supplement collagen often note the fountain of youth style benefits, including things like less wrinkles and more pain-free joints. That's why I recommend BioTrust Multi-Collagen Formula that you can get right now at healthwithlisa.com. This formula has the 5 essential collagens that your body needs. This high-quality collagen is exactly what your body needs, and it really helps your hair, your skin, your nails, and even your joints. And honestly, I've been taking it for the past year, and it really has made a major difference in my life. But it's so easy to use. All you have to do, and here's the bag here, is take 1 scoop. You can put it either in your coffee or you can put it in your shake, whatever you prefer. And then you stir it right up, and it stirs without clumps and all that, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's super easy to take. And doesn't even have a flavor to it. So your coffee still tastes like your coffee. But check it out now by going to healthwithlisa.com. I'll show you their website here. Right now, they've got up to 51% off of those packages. And on top of that, it comes with free shipping, free coaching, VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, and a free new e-report on the 14 foods for amazing skin. So check it out right now at healthwithlisa.com. More information can be found in the description box below. All right, back to the broadcast. So what exactly happened after Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts? Well, let's first start with Portland and see what's going on over in Portland. Here we are, foxnews.com. Portland police officer has been surrounded, punched in the face, and an unlawful assembly declared. Police declared an unlawful assembly there in Portland about 10 o'clock p.m. This is after the conviction. Second here, and this is on KOIN6news.com, 2 arrested during the unlawful assembly in downtown Portland. Vandals have gathered hours after the jury conviction. Derek Chauvin of killing George Floyd. Then we have theepictimes.com. Portland rioters are smashing windows at a Starbucks and attack a police officer. So over in Portland, there's obviously a lot of chaos going on. There is more rioting and protesting as a result of getting exactly what they wanted with George Floyd. Here, let's move on over to another area here. How about Minneapolis? Breitbart.com. Watch BLM chant F the National Guard after Chauvin's verdict in Minneapolis. Then we have Breitbart.com. Watch Minneapolis protesters basically harass the truck driver by standing on his front end there and even on the side of his window, basically taunting him from his window following the conviction of Derek Chauvin. And here it is. BLM demonstrators block the streets there in Minneapolis yet again, harass the driver of a tractor trailer attempting to drive on his route. But that's not all that's going on there in Minneapolis. I want to show you this here. And this is a guy saying, and I'm not going to play the clip because it contains cuss words, but I will leave a link in the box below. But basically, the guy there says, they're going to let this whole MFer burn to the ground. Burn to the ground. Burn this whole MFer to the ground. This is what's going on after a verdict that they asked for, right? And I want to add this little clip. This is kind of a sidetrack, but I think it's very important. And I'm not going to play every single clip on this, but I want to show you how the media has radicalized Black Lives Matter and Antifa organizations. And then we have congressional leaders like AOC, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and many, many others, specifically Maxine Waters, as we've really delved into, encouraging these people. And they're literally burning our cities to the ground. But take a listen to part of this clip here.
You can burn the whole city down. What does it matter?
So I say burn the city down, so they can see that we're here, continue the movement.
Do you think the city's going to burn down?
Yes, absolutely.
No question.
Wow.
No.
They want to burn the city down.
By burning all the city down, we'll teach them a lesson?
I think honestly, I'm all for burning it down. There shouldn't even be a trial. He should be convicted just as is.
If he got off, would you support street justice on him?
Yes.
Yes, street justice on him. And then he goes on to ask this question, and I think this is a very important one. How many unarmed Black people were killed by cops last year? And I want you to listen to their response. Take a listen.
Last year. Any idea?
100 plus? In just Minnesota?
No, around the country.
Oh,
Thousands.
Unarmed Black people.
Thousands of them. It's a genocide that is happening unlike ever before. This is the rhetoric that the mainstream media. How many unarmed Black people were killed by police in 2020? 18. They actually played this clip, I believe, on Hannity, on Fox News as well. But this is powerful. How many unarmed Black people? And the video goes on to talk about genocide and how we have a genocide going on against cops, with cops killing Black people and the whole 9 yards. The ignorance is just out of proportion. And so what are these people doing because of the false narratives by the mainstream media? They're burning our streets, even on a verdict that they have been asking for. You see, it's never enough. Never enough. Why is it never enough? Because systematic racism doesn't truly exist anywhere near the levels that they say. So we are fighting against this imaginary monster. There's no way to win against something or to battle against something that doesn't exist. That's why everything is exploded and taken out of context. Right? That's why when 18 unarmed Black men were killed by cops in 2020, they think it's thousands. See? They have to blow it out of proportion to make their systematic racism, if you will, a reality. But I want to show you one last clip of this. And I had to show you this because this was really important. But take a listen to this last part because they make a very powerful statement. And there are words on the screen in case you can't hear it. But take a listen.
What percent of this country are white supremacists?
Say most of the country. I can't give you a number, but
You say majority of the country.
Yeah.
Should we just gather up the white supremacists and do street justice?
That would be ideal. Again, I'm not.
That would be ideal. Almost the entire country, she says, is white supremacist. And it's okay if we gather them up and do street justice against them. Whoa. I don't know about you, but I don't know one racist person in my circle. I'm sure racism existed. It existed ever since man and woman were created on planet Earth. But it is nowhere near the level that they're making it out to be. I mean, crazy. That's just crazy. But let's move on a little bit. I'm a little bit sidetracked. There was also protests happening after the conviction there in New York. Here we have Yahoo News. Protesters march in New York following the conviction of Derek Chauvin in George Floyd's case. Moving on a little bit. We also have new protests gathering over a brand new gal here, a 15-year-old gal. Protesters are gathering in Columbus, Ohio at police headquarters after a Black teenager was fatally shot by a police officer. But what they fail to leave out of this is that the 15-year-old teenager was holding a knife attempting to stab the other girl before she was shot. But I digress. Protesters are gathering out there as well. And here's some of the protests that have gathered outside of the Columbus police headquarters. It is never enough. So we have protests in Columbus, we have protests in New York, Minneapolis, Portland, Oregon, and I'm sure many other places. And there was still rioting going on in Minneapolis and other places. It's never enough, right? But what did some of our leaders and representatives have to say about the trial? We'll take a look here. Breitbart.com, Democrat Representative Bush, Chauvin conviction accountability. It's accountability, but it is not true justice. We should be talking about the climate crisis. And of course, AOC, Business Insider, reacts to the case, and she says the fact that George Floyd had to die is, quote, to be seen and valued, but it is not justice. Breitbart.com, and I love the way that they titled this on AOC, but AOC on Chauvin guilty verdict is not justice. This is not resolution. Systematic institutional racism continues. It continues, she says. And let me say one more thing here. The reason that the Democratic Party is pushing so hard with this race stuff, I have to ask, I mean, are they wanting to start a civil war? Are they wanting to start race riots? I mean, what's the real agenda? And I think the real agenda here with the Democratic Party is if they don't have the race card to play, they don't win votes. They don't win people in office. They need it to keep their party going. And that is exactly what they're doing. This is why no matter who gets convicted of what and how, it's going to always continue. This is a monster that isn't going to go away. And then, of course, the sports worlds decide that they're going to stick their head into it and reacts to Derek Chauvin being found guilty on all charges in George Floyd's death. And a lot of them put out statements like this. I'm not going to read them all because I don't watch any of these NBA, MLB. Please continue to boycott the MLB. I'm not watching them. I'm not drinking Coke and I'm not flying on Delta Airlines, but that's what I'm doing as far as my boycott. But anyway, they go on to release a joint statement that says basically there is still a lot of work to be done. Still a lot of work to be done. Right? Right. Then we have this Breitbart. Gavin Newsom decided to stick his ugly head in on it. George Floyd would still be living if he looked like me. Would he? Would he? I've had police brutality happen to me. Yes, I have. And I'm a white girl. Now it's when I was 19 years old, had my head smashed into the side of a car for a crime that I didn't commit, by the way. But I guess that only happens to people of color. Had I actually had money, as most of you know, my background was very poor, I would have took that MFer to court. Are there bad cops in the world? Yeah. But it doesn't only happen to one color, by the way. Police brutality happens to people of all races, colors, and creeds. And those police officers that are doing that need to have justice brought to them. Yes, of course. But you are pulling the race card and all of that for what reason? To get votes for your party? Then we have this Speaker Pelosi, and I'm not going to play the clip. You've probably seen it. But she says, "Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life." What? Because you and people like you, there's justice now. Whoa. I'll let you form your own opinion on that. Of course, Biden and Harris had to make their state. They said they slammed systematic racism, you know, the big boogeyman in America that no one can fight because it's not really as big. It's non-existent at the level that they say. So there's no way to fight it, and they know that. But hey, every corner that you turn, there's racism, folks. There's racism. It's racism in the colors of brown paper bags, Black Fridays, and whatever. They're all over the place. Black, obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but Biden Harris slammed, this is Fox News, systematic racism in the U.S. This Chauvin's guilty verdict is just a giant step towards justice, right? And I want to show you some of the people that are actually speaking common sense about what's going on. And I want to show you these last couple of articles here on Fox News. Leo Terrell, Biden and Democrats' reaction to Chauvin's verdict shows you cannot satisfy these extremists. Amen. You know, once they get everything that they want, right? With all these verdicts and the police officers, once they defund the police, right, then they move on to a new thing. Well, now we want it taught in the education system. Well, now we want reparations. Well, now we want certain amount of, just fill in the blank. Doesn't stop with one. It does not stop with one thing. You can never satisfy extremists. But he goes on to say this: Biden and his Democrat allies still want to make the Derek Chauvin trial about race relations in America. Civil rights attorney Leo Terrell said on Hannity. Derek Chauvin was not being charged with racism, Terrell said of the former Minneapolis police officer who was convicted of murder and manslaughter in the just death of George Floyd last year. Race was not even mentioned in the case at all. We had a diverse jury, and they rendered justice based on the evidence inside the courtroom. But don't worry, the mainstream media will make sure that chaos spreads like wildfire all across the country. FoxNews.com, Candace Owens slams Democrat media for mob justice in Derek Chauvin's trial. And here's what she has to say. These are very powerful words, and I don't disagree with her. Here's what she says. They can create a narrative, and they can treat people like pawns and get them to basically say, if we don't get what we want, we're going to riot. If we lose, we're going to send people like soldiers to destroy your neighborhoods. And that's exactly what happened. What did Maxine Waters say over the past week? If we don't get a guilty verdict, then show up in the streets, confront people. She calls for violence, right? Right. Those are threats. If you don't do what we want, then we will blank. And Democrats are not condemning the acts. Wait a minute. Republicans condemned what happened at Capitol 6, but these Democrats refuse to condemn what's going on with BLM and Antifa? They say they're justified. I think Republicans need to start taking a different approach now, right? But she goes on. They are already moving the goalpost because they are saying right now that the conviction is not enough. It's not enough. It wasn't justice, they said, by the way. What they want is perpetual revolution. They do. It is why they want people to be ignorant. It is why they want people in the education system to learn nothing but race and how to be angry. It is propaganda that is taking place in the mainstream media, and it's working with critical race theory. By the way, if that's rearing its head in your child's school, you better make a stink about it. And all of this nonsense to make sure we are mass producing human failures that are angry and that are violent and that are willing to riot and root on behalf of the Democrats, because that is what they want right now, pawns in their nefarious scheme to take over the United States of America. And that's what I agree with as far as what Candace Owens has said. Perpetual revolution, folks. Anyway, share this video with everybody you know. And by the way, get on over to Restricted Republic. Justice Night put out more information on exactly what I talked about here. It's expanded on over at Restricted Republic. If you want the full length version of it, you got to get on over there and watch Justice Night's version. So sign up at restrictedrepublic.com. Anyhow, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.